The Shepherd's Promise, the story of the lost sheep. Long ago, in a land of rolling green hills and wide, endless skies, lived a shepherd. He wasn't a king with a golden crown, and he didn't live in a giant stone castle. His home was the open field, his roof was the starry night sky, and his greatest treasure wasn't gold or silver. His greatest treasure was his flock. He had exactly 100 sheep. Now, to anyone else walking down the dusty road, 100 sheep might just look like a big, fluffy white cloud moving across the hillside. But not to the shepherd. He knew every single one of them by name. He knew that old Barnaby had a slight limp and needed to walk in the back. He knew that Daisy was a picky eater and only liked the clover that grew near the stream. He knew which ones were brave, which ones were shy, and which ones liked to sleep right next to the campfire. He loved them all, completely and equally. And they loved him. They knew the sound of his voice. When he called, they followed, because they knew that wherever the shepherd led them, there would be cool water, sweet grass, and perfect safety. Among this great flock was a young, little lamb named Pip. Pip was small, with perfectly curly white wool and ears that flopped over his eyes when he ran. Pip loved the shepherd very much, but Pip had one little problem. He was incredibly curious, and he was very, very easily distracted. While the older sheep were perfectly happy keeping their heads down, chewing the green grass, Pip was always looking up. He would see a bright blue butterfly fluttering by and think, "Oh, I must see where that goes." Or he would spot a patch of yellow dandelions on the next hill and think, "I bet those taste better than the grass right here." The shepherd always kept a close eye on Pip. He would gently tap the ground with his long wooden staff, tap, 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 and call out, "Stay close, little Pip. The safest place is with the flock." Pip would always trot back, bleating a happy apology, and stay close to the shepherd's feet, at least for a little while. Chapter 2. The Wandering. One warm, golden afternoon, the shepherd led his flock to a beautiful valley. The grass was thick and lush, and a cool, clear stream bubbled right through the middle of it. The sun was shining, bees were buzzing lazily in the flowers, and it was the perfect day. The flock settled in to eat and rest. The shepherd sat on a large, smooth rock, keeping his watchful eyes on the valley. Pip was grazing near the edge of the flock. The grass was delicious, but as he chewed, a bright, shimmering green grasshopper landed right on his nose. Pip blinked. The grasshopper chirped, and then, boing! It jumped a few feet away. Pip took a step after it. Boing! The grasshopper jumped again. Pip took another step. He didn't mean to leave the flock. He was just playing a little game. But as he followed the grasshopper, he noticed a patch of clover. He stopped to take a bite. It was sweet. Then, he looked up and saw a strange, twisting bush with bright red berries just a little further away. "I'll just go see what those are," Pip thought to himself. Just for a second. The shepherd won't mind. He took another step. And another. He walked past the twisting bush. He walked over a small rocky hill. He followed a winding dirt path that dipped down into a small ravine. Pip kept his head down, finding a tasty root here and a crisp green leaf there. He was having a wonderful adventure. He felt very independent and very grown-up. But he wasn't looking at the sky. If he had, he would have noticed that the warm, golden sun was starting to sink below the horizon. The bright blue sky was turning deep purple and then a bruised, dark gray. The air began to turn cold. Pip finally looked up. He opened his mouth to bleat a happy sound to his friends, but no sound came out. He was entirely alone. There were no fluffy white sheep around him. There was no bubbling stream. And most terrifying of all, the shepherd was nowhere to be seen. The world, which had looked so fun and exciting just an hour ago, now looked big, dark, and full of sharp shadows. The bushes looked like monsters with twisted claws. The wind howled through the rocks, sounding like hungry animals. Pip was lost. Chapter 3. The Counting. Back in the beautiful valley, evening had arrived. The shepherd had gathered his flock into a safe, natural pen made of high rocks and thick, thorny bushes. He built a warm, bright fire at the entrance. He would sleep right across the opening, making sure no wild animals could get in and no sheep could get out. But before he lay down, the shepherd did what he did every single night. He counted them. He walked among the softly bleating sheep, gently patting their heads, looking at their faces in the firelight. 1, 2, 3. His deep, calm voice rang out into the night. 34, 35, 72, 73, 97, 98, 99. The shepherd stopped. He looked at the flock again. He counted one more time, just to be sure. 97, 98, 99. One was missing. The shepherd didn't just see a missing number. He didn't think, well, I still have 99. That's a very good amount of sheep. One won't matter. No. He looked at the faces of his flock, and he knew exactly who was gone. Pip. His heart ached. He knew the wilderness was vast, cold, and dangerous. He knew little Pip was out there in the dark, shivering and terrified. The shepherd did not hesitate. He made sure the 99 were completely safe inside the rocky pen, guarded by his faithful sheepdogs. Then, he picked up his heavy wooden staff. He lit a small oil lantern, its warm orange light pushing back the darkness. He turned his back on the warm, safe fire, and he walked out into the freezing, pitch-black night. Chapter 4. The Search. The journey was not easy. The wilderness at night was a completely different world. The shepherd climbed steep, rocky hills, his boots slipping on loose stones. He pushed his way through thick, thorny bushes that snagged his clothes and scratched his arms. The wind whipped at his cloak, trying to blow out the tiny flame of his lantern. But the shepherd kept walking. "Pip," he called out, his powerful voice echoing against the canyon walls. "Pip." He listened closely. Nothing but the howling wind. He walked for miles. His legs grew tired. The night grew colder. Far off in the distance, he heard the chilling howl of a wolf. Most people would have given up. Most people would have said, "It's too dark. It's too cold. It's too dangerous for just one little sheep. I'll come back in the morning." But the shepherd loved Pip too much to leave him in the dark. He knew that the longer he waited, the more danger Pip was in. He pressed on. He climbed higher into the jagged rocks, shining his lantern into every dark cave, behind every boulder, calling out into the endless night. "Pip, where are you, little one?" Chapter 5. The Rescue. Miles away, on the edge of a steep cliff, little Pip was huddled into a tiny ball. He was stuck on a narrow, rocky ledge. If he went forward, he would fall into the dark canyon below. If he tried to climb back up, the rocks were too steep and slippery. He was shivering from the cold. His wool was tangled with burrs and thorns. He was so incredibly tired and so very afraid. He closed his eyes and wished, more than anything, that he had never chased that grasshopper. He wished he was back by the warm fire. He let out a weak, tired cry. Bah! Suddenly, a light. Pip opened his eyes. High above him, on the top of the cliff, a warm, orange glow was pushing away the shadows. And then he heard it. The most beautiful sound in the entire world. Pip. Pip jumped up on his shaky little legs. He tilted his head back and cried out as loud as he could. Bah! The shepherd heard him. He rushed to the edge of the cliff and looked down, shining his lantern into the darkness. There, trapped on the tiny ledge, was his lost sheep. The shepherd didn't scold Pip. He didn't yell, "I told you not to wander off." He didn't complain about his scratched arms or his tired legs. His face broke into a massive, beautiful smile. "I've got you, little one," the shepherd whispered. "I'm coming." The shepherd tied a thick rope around a sturdy tree at the top of the cliff. Carefully, bravely, he lowered himself down the steep, jagged rock face. He slipped once, scraping his knee, but he held on tight. He climbed down, 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 into the dark, until his boots finally touched the narrow ledge. Pip was so happy he could barely stand. He pressed his little head against the shepherd's boots. The shepherd knelt down. He didn't put a leash on Pip. He didn't make Pip climb back up the scary cliff by himself. Instead, the shepherd reached out his strong, gentle arms and scooped the heavy, tired little lamb right up. He draped Pip safely across his broad shoulders, holding Pip's legs securely in his hands. "You're safe now," the shepherd said, his voice rumbling warmly against Pip's side. "Let's go home." Chapter 6. The Joyful Return. The journey back seemed to take no time at all. Pip didn't have to walk a single step. He rested safely on the shepherd's shoulders, wrapped in the warmth of the shepherd's cloak. He fell fast asleep, knowing he was completely protected. As they walked back, the dark night began to fade. The sky turned soft pink, then bright orange, and finally a brilliant, sunny blue. Morning had come. When the shepherd finally crested the last hill and saw the rocky pen, the other 99 sheep were waking up. They saw the shepherd walking toward them, exhausted, dirty, scratched by thorns, but with a giant smile on his face, carrying Pip on his shoulders. The shepherd didn't just walk into the camp quietly. He let out a loud, joyous shout. He called out to the other shepherds in the valley. "Rejoice with me," he yelled, lifting Pip up for them all to see. "Celebrate with me. I have found my lost sheep." There was a grand celebration that morning in the beautiful valley. The shepherd gently cleaned the burrs out of Pip's wool, bandaged his little scrapes, and set him down right by the coolest water and the sweetest green grass. Pip never wandered away again. He stayed closer to the shepherd than any other sheep in the flock, because he knew exactly how much the shepherd loved him. He knew the lengths his shepherd would go to find him. Conclusion: the meaning. When Jesus told this story, he wasn't just talking about a farmer and his animals. He was telling us a story about God and about us. In this story, God is the good shepherd. And well, sometimes we are like little Pip. Sometimes we get distracted. Sometimes we think we know a better way. We wander off on our own, trying to find our own path, and suddenly we find ourselves lost, stuck in the dark, feeling very alone and very afraid. But this beautiful story promises us something amazing. It promises that God doesn't look at us as just a number in a crowd. You are not just one of a billion people to him. He knows your name. He knows everything about you. And you are so incredibly valuable to him that if you ever wander away, he will not sit back and let you stay lost. He will leave the 99. He will search high and low, through the dark and the danger. He will never, ever stop looking for you. And when he finds you, he doesn't bring you back with anger. He scoops you up in his arms, puts you on his shoulders, and carries you home with a heart full of absolute joy. Because to the Good Shepherd, finding even one lost sheep is the greatest reason to celebrate in the whole universe.